I was thinking about how when people ask like, "Yo, how'd you lose all that weight? How was you able to reverse the blood pressure and all of that?" And I was like, "Yo, I just made a decision and I went vegan and I just kind of been on it ever since." And they was like, "Dang, how you do that? You must be so disciplined. How you able to sit around and see all the fried chicken and all the cookies and all that and not participate in it? How you? Damn, I wish I had your discipline." I was like, I mean, it's not really discipline. Yeah, of course it's discipline. And then I remember this person I didn't know like that, but they kind of, it's like they was offended or something. Like, of course it's discipline. How could it not be disciplined? Yeah, I'm like, it's not quite, and it just made me think how. And by the way, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but the person who, like I said, seemed almost offended by what I said. What I say is this: if they were on a health and fitness journey of themselves, for themselves, I don't think they were where they wanted to be yet on that journey, right? I was further along in the journey than this person was. And it just made me think like whenever it's things that we want to do and there's goals we have and it's goals that we've been trying to attain, yet we've been struggling to attain it. Why? How can this be? Because, okay, so we have our beliefs, right? We have our beliefs. And if there's something that, if there's if you desire your life to be a certain way, if you desire certain goals and you've been working towards those goals, and haven't been able to attain them, that is because you have a belief or some beliefs that aren't true. That means that you believe lies. There's a lie somewhere that you believe. There's a misunderstanding. Okay? So, when I say, I seem to get a lot of resistance with this. And it's usually from people who, like I said, don't seem to be as far along in their health and fitness journey as I am. I'm not saying I'm the furthest. I'm not saying I'm the end. I'm not saying I'm the creme de la creme, the top. But I always say, yo, it's not discipline, right? People think you need discipline. And I kind of want to get a little more specific with this. So, discipline come from disciple. It means you following something. If you want to get super technical, about the words, maybe we can start to poke some holes in what I'm saying. But however, when we say discipline, what I find most people to be saying when they say that, and which is what I mean when I say it, is to fight against urges, or we can say temptation. Okay? This is the definition. This is the meaning when I say it's not discipline, right? It's not discipline how we successful in things. When I say that, this is what I mean, because this is typically what people mean when they say it. Like I said, if you want to get into the technical etymology of discipline or something like that, maybe we can find some holes in it, maybe still not. But this is what people mean. And what I'm here to tell you is this is not the key to success. Okay? I'm not even spelling. Why you ain't tell me I ain't spell this right? I forgot the end there. Fight against urges or temptations. That is not, it's not the key to success. And when I tell people this, every once in a while I notice people really give me a lot of resistance with that, a lot of backlash with that. And some people go as far as to get offended with that, And it's like, yo, how can that be? Like, how can you lose weight if you're not fighting against urges, right? If you're not fighting, like, how can you just be in a room? You mean to tell me you could be in a room full of chips and donuts and cookies and stuff, and you're telling me you're not fighting urges? You're not. That's not discipline. What I'm telling you is there's no urges to begin with. Okay, there's no urges there to begin with. That's the key. That's the key to success. So we want to go from, it's not about becoming disciplined. It's about becoming, we'll say, transform. Why do I keep forgetting the letter N today? Okay. So it's not about this. It's about becoming transformed. It's about transforming into the person who wouldn't have those urges to begin with. So when I be saying health and fitness is easy for me, like it's easy for me to do this, it's because there's no fight happening. There's no fight happening. There's nothing for me to fight. I'm just naturally being me. Like people who excel at things, people who do things, the things that they do, it comes easy to them. Well, let me not oversimplify it. Let me not oversimplify it. Because when you achieve great things, you got to put work in. But even as the more work you put in, and the more you work on yourself and work on your identity and who you see yourself as, which is really the key, certain things become easy, and it actually becomes hard to not work on the thing, right? So when we think about somebody like Michael Jordan, I don't want to say like him becoming the greatest basketball player of all time came easy to him, but it was easier for him to do than to not be. Why? He had an urge to win. So for him to not practice and do what is necessary to win, that was harder for him than to actually go and practice and do what was necessary to win. And that's why he went and practiced and did what was necessary to win. That was easier than the other thing. It was harder for him to not do that. You understand what I'm saying? It's harder for me to go back eating foods that I know aren't good for me, because now I'm the type of person who wouldn't deal with those. That's harder for. It's harder for me to indulge in certain things than it is for me to just simply ignore it and act like it's not there. That's what it's about, right? That's what it's about. Transform. I'm a different person. I see myself differently. Okay? So, how do we do this, right? How do you make this transformation? How do you go from being the person who identifies as somebody who has all these urges, because that's what they like, and when you think about the goal you want to reach and how you got to fight against your urges for the rest of your life, it's easy to talk yourself out of trying it, right? How do you go from that to the person to where, it's just who I am? How do you see yourself? What's interesting? All the people I work for, that I work with, when I ask them this question, it's like they never done it, right? So it's like, okay, you got yourself, right? This is you, right? And then like, there's all these people, well, there's a woman, man, whatever, boom, boom, right? And they see you, a certain way, right? And they see you from like this perspective over here. This the only view of you they have. And then you see yourself, you don't really see yourself because you are you. Like, this is you inside of you. So you don't really see yourself from a third person perspective. You see yourself from inside of yourself from first person. They're going to see things about you that you may not even see about yourself. Right? And then, of course, there's things you know about you that they don't know because they're not you. They're not you. We all have different perspectives. However, with the power of imagination, right? Let me write that up here. Imagination. Imagination is the key to all of this. Let me circle it. Let me underline it a few times. With your imagination, what can you do? With the imagination, you can imagine what you may look like, right? You can use your imagination to take yourself from outside of yourself and start to see yourself from different perspective, from over here. So now you can see a viewpoint of yourself that they don't see. You can come see yourself from their perspective, right? You can see yourself from this perspective that nobody's looking at, or maybe somebody else knows you from that way, and then some people see it over here. You could use your imagination to view yourself from outside of yourself in third person. Many of us have not tried to do this at all. But with our imagination, we can give ourselves a 360 view, bird's eye view of yourself, right? And then you start to get a better idea of who you are. You know what this is called? This word is a simple word for this. People talk about it all the time, but I don't hear nobody talking about actually doing it. What's it called? What's this called? What's being able to do this called? It's called self. Yo, I cannot spell today. It's called self-awareness. How about that? It's called self-awareness. You know what self-awareness leads to? Because here's the thing: once you step into self-awareness, and become aware of yourself, a natural progression happens. Something naturally happens. You can't fight it if you want to. Once you have actual self-awareness, and you have self-awareness by using imagination and imagining, viewing your being and what you're doing from different perspectives. So you're not only seeing it from as you, but you get to see from different perspectives and different viewpoints. And there's many different perspectives, right? Naturally, what's going to happen, once you have self-awareness, now what happens is accountability. Woo! Accountability happens. You're struggling with weight, you're struggling with relationships, you're struggling with your finances, you're struggling with your business. I guarantee you, and assuming it's been going on for a prolonged amount of time, you ain't just start last week or something, because some things take time. You've been struggling in these areas for a prolonged amount of time. I guarantee you did something here is not right. You're not using your imagination to step into self-awareness so you can hold yourself accountable. You're not. You're just not. Accountability. Okay, hold on. Let's go into accountability a little bit. Because see, now, like with my background as an investor, becoming, and knowing how to break down financial statements, looking at income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, and stuff like that, like accounting, right? Looking at accounting, okay? So, if we look at it, so if we'll take a balance sheet, for example, in the business, pay attention. So we look at a balance sheet of a business, right? And basically, this is being super basic. You have assets, you have liabilities, I think I spelled that right, and you have equity, okay? So, in equity, put an E, equity equals assets minus liabilities. So, for example, if you have, I'm just use small, simple numbers. If you have 100 in assets and you have 50 in liabilities, then you have $50. Let's say, so if you have $100 in assets and you have $50 in liabilities, you have $50 in equity. Okay, this is accounting. Now, imagine this. So the equity, equity is like the truth. Equity is like the truth. Assets is like, we could say, it's kind of like effort or whatever, like what you see, what you've been doing, what you think you've been doing. And then liabilities is like where you're struggling, right? So we see if you have $100 bill, you have $50, and then you have $50 in bills, you have $50 for yourself. That's the equity. That's like your result, right? So imagine this. The liabilities part is where we don't want to be aware at, like the self-awareness piece. Nobody really likes looking at that. Those are the bills you got to pay, right? Those are the things that you ain't been doing right. Well, as far as business is concerned, those are like the bills you got to pay. Nobody likes paying bills like that. The only reason we like paying bills is so we ain't got to pay them again and it's taken care of for the moment in time. Okay, but if we could live life without ever having to pay a bill, most of us would do that. So imagine this. With no accountability and you're trying to get this equity part to be 100. And we say it's like, yo, and so you got the 100 in assets, right? Yo, I've been on the treadmill. I've been eating veggies. I've been taking my sea moss and all of that. Man, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, right? So assets is like you taking your sea moss, you're walking, you're going on walks, right? You. What else? What else y'all doing out there? You juicing, okay? That's like your ass. That's what you know you're doing. What's the results been? No weight loss, right? Or you still gained a lot of times, right? If I ask you how much you weighed 5 years ago, a lot of times the number is bigger today than it was 5 years ago. But let's just use 1 year. Let's say you gained 5 pounds in a year. 5 pounds. So you've been taking your sea moss, you've been going on walks, you've been doing your juicing and all of that. And it's like, I just can't lose weight. I don't understand. I gained 5 pounds. I just not meant for me to lose weight. Oh, what's in the liabilities part? Man, I don't know. It's nothing. I'm not a big eater. I hear that a lot. I don't even eat that much. Oh yeah, okay. So how many calories you think you have on average? I don't know. I never counted. Never count. You never count it. Accounting, accountability. Count. See that word? Count. You gotta count something. You have to count something. Yeah, they don't know what. Y'all don't know how much food y'all eating. And the truth is, it's easy to forget the snacks you had, right? Oops. Let's start this over. Snacks, right? The lack of sleep. You sleeping 4 hours a night, right? You forgot about that time you went to the drive-thru. You went to the drive-thru twice today alone. Maybe you forgot you did that. What was your side dish? Oh, you had some pasta with extra cheese. It's no wonder you gained. It's no wonder you haven't lost any weight and you actually gained 5 pounds because your liabilities is exceeding your assets. Your bad habits that you aren't holding yourself accountable for is exceeding all of your efforts or your assets, and that's why your equity or your result is what it is. Point blank. Period. Point blank. Period. There's no way. There's too many of you guys out there saying you can't lose weight and you don't understand and you're trying everything. And if I ask you something as simple as how many calories on, I'm not asking for a specific amount. Like when it comes to business, you got to be specific to the penny. I just need a range. You think you had 2,500 calories, 3,000 calories, 18? What do you think is going on? Right? So, and I don't want to, and I don't want to make it seem like it's calories. That's the end all be all. I mean, it is, but it ain't. Like that's because when you think of it like that, then you think, okay, I just need to eat less food and I need to run more. I'm not. It's not even that. It's not even that. But it's what I will say is this: good habits versus bad habits. Do you have more good habits than bad habits, or do you have more bad habits than good habits as it relates to your goal? You don't even have to get rid of all the bad habits. See, like even me, for example, right? Good habit. It's a good habit I have. Let's make my balance sheet. So my assets or good habits as it relates to health and weight, that is. Here I go, not spelling again. Something wrong with my brain today. Actually, we'll get into that, why that is. I know exactly why I'm having these brain farts, and I'm gonna share with you why that is. Liabilities, bad habits. Okay? Equity. So I'm about to hold myself accountable right in front of y'all. Results. Okay? Good habits. I'm in bed. I'm in bed about 9 to 10 hours before my wake up time. No, yeah, about 9 to 10 hours before my wake up time. So 9 to 10 hours before I wake up. Why is this a good habit? It takes an hour or two, typically on average, an hour or two before somebody goes in their bed before they fall asleep. Unless, of course, you're scrolling on your phone or you're on your laptop and stuff like that. But if you're just getting into bed within 2 hours or less, usually within an hour or less, depending on what's on your mind, you'll be asleep. So I'm asleep typically by midnight, and I wake up between 7 and 7:30 with no alarm. So that's 7.5 hours of sleep I get every night. Your body only burns fat when you sleep. I'm allowing my body to sleep enough to actually burn the fat. Right? So that's a good habit I have. Kind of. We'll get to that in a second though. So that's an asset. There's another one. 95% of my diet is whole foods. You know what whole foods are? I mean, there's a few ways you could define it. Whole foods are foods with a whole bunch of nutrients with a little bit of calories. Foods that can actually make you feel full and satiated and not want to continue to eat, right? Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, grains, and meat and dairy. Those are whole foods. Foods that don't have an ingredients list. Because why is there a reason for an ingredients list? I must do my apple already. But if you go to the store, you get an apple. Why? There's no reason for an ingredients list. It's an apple that's in your hand, right? Or if you get some beef, shouldn't be nothing in the ingredients list. It should be just beef, right? If most of your diet is that, it's hard to have unnecessary appetites and cravings and things like that. And you usually, you can still mess this up, but for the most part, it's much more easier to get all the nutrients you need because you're not eating all the processed foods where they strip all the nutrients out, right? So if 95% of what I eat is whole foods and I'm getting on average 7 hours of sleep a night, those are some strong assets, right? Those are some strong assets as it pertains to health and fitness. Let's see. Other good habits I have. So for the winter, I picked up a job at Amazon as a deliverer. I'm delivering all day. And so when I'm going in and out of my van, I'm taking 15 to 20,000 steps every day I go to work. That's like 800 calories burned just because. Right? Keeping my blood flowing, keeping my heart rate up. I'm moving. Movement is medicine. This is burning a lot of calories. That's a good habit. Right? I picked it up for the holidays. Good habit. When I'm not doing that, right? And when I'm no longer going to be working there, I'll be doing some type of exercise, right? Like another good habit. I'm gonna take that off because that's temporary, but this is something I always do. You know how I wake up in the morning? It's two ways I wake up. I either go do a couple of deadlifts if I am, but other than deadlifts, I'll do push-ups to wake myself up. It's a good habit. It sets the tone for the day. Your blood is flowing, and you kind of like you lean into that consistency bias. You want to stay consistent with how you started the day off. You're like, I pre-frame my day in the name of health and fitness. That's how I wake up. My blood is flowing and all of that. I get a little pump in my chest or my arms get a little burn. Or if I do the deadlifts, it's like, I lifted something heavy for the day. Oh, I'm strong. I can take on anything. Come on, let's get it. It's a good habit. And I can use that momentum throughout the day. Those are my good habits, right? Bad habits, I got some. Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Ben and Jerry's. Well, I should just say sugar. That's not like this ain't the only dessert I have. So let me just put sugar. It's a lot of sugar in that. Some other bad habits. Mm, I guess I could put drinking. I don't really drink too much, but sometimes I'll drink. It's like it's seasonal. I go a month where I'm drinking every weekend, and then I'll go 10 months without drinking nothing. But I just put drinks up there anyway. Some it counts. What else? Oh, so when I talked about sleep, sometimes I'm scrolling on my phone and I'm scrolling past midnight. So sometimes I end up not going to bed till 1, maybe 2 o'clock. So I'm not getting as much sleep. But since the assets over here is more and so strong, this is every once in a while. This is every once in a while. This happened to happen last night, right? That's why I'm spelling. That's why my spelling's messed up. My brain didn't fully finish restoring last night, right? But these two are rare, and this is even rare. So these is like occasional. This is 99% of my life. 99% of the time I'm doing this, right? Maybe 10% of the time I'm doing this. Equity and result was what? Reverse my blood pressure. I'm gonna put HBP. I reverse my high blood pressure. I'm gonna put PD for pre-diabetes. I'm gonna put C for cholesterol. Okay. I went from I used to weigh 270. Now today, I'm usually around like 184-ish, 184 to 186. I'm in there. I was 270. This is my results. That's the equity. Because why? I held myself accountable. I had to account for these things. Oh, chips. I have chips sometimes. That's another one. Which technically we could say is sugar when we get into the processed flour and how your body interprets it. But let's not make this too sciencey and too meaty. Point being is some accountability is necessary. How often are you participating in bad habits that would be in the liability section of the balance sheet? Right? You can't expect, like imagine it's like you go to work and you put the overtime in, so your check is twice as much as what it's supposed to be. You get the check, but because your check was twice as much as what it's supposed to be, now you're spending more than you normally would. And then you wondering why your actual end result, your bank statement at the end of the month, you wonder why that number isn't higher. You made more, so you spent more. Actually, you spent even more than you normally would, so it got even less. It's accounting. You know that from accounting. You have to count what you're doing. Everything that you do counts. A couple of bites of the snacks you had counts. Some midnight snacks you had, that counts. The time you went to the drive-thru, that counts. That Starbucks that you're having in the morning all the time with the sweet sugar and all of that, that latte, that counts. You got to hold yourself accountable. Okay? What doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, they say. You got to measure everything. So, awareness is key. Oh, shit, somewhere we put that. Awareness is key. Self-awareness, and when you become self-aware, you got no choice but to hold yourself accountable. So, what else do we need? We also need to become aware of. We also had to become aware of what we're putting in our body exactly. What are we putting in our body exactly? Okay, because once you become aware about the details about how certain things affect you, it's not as easy to consume it. I remember this was years ago. I was in summer school and high school, and this girl was talking about how she became vegan because she watched how they take the cows and slaughter the cows and what they do to the cows. And now she's vegan. So it's hard for her to continue to consume beef and consume meat when now she knows how that meat got there. Even if she used to eat burgers, was her favorite, could have been her favorite food. But once you kind of know like how that process happens, everybody don't care about that, but she cared about that. When she knew how that process happened, it made her harder to consume that. She didn't want to be a part of it. When she become aware of something, it's hard to continue to do that. This is why I say it's not discipline. The key is really awareness. It's awareness. Awareness is everything. It's the perspective. It's the awareness. It's the viewpoint. The viewpoint. Self-awareness, we can use imagination. And aware of everything else comes by way of education and information. When you become aware of what the sugar, of how eating too much. So when it comes to diabetes, and diabetes is the number one cause of heart disease. Heart disease is the number one cause of death. And the only thing that everybody can agree on as far as the cause of diabetes is overconsumption, eating too many calories. Some people say sugar, some people say it's the red meat. There's science that proves and disproves both points, but what all the science agrees on is eating too much. Okay? So once you become aware that eating too much can cause diabetes, and diabetes can cause heart disease, and especially if diabetes is like kind of real to you, maybe you know a family member who has it, maybe you have it, and you become aware, oh, that's what's eating too much. Then you might start to ask, well, what makes you eat too much, and so on and so forth. I can take you down different rabbit holes, but maybe it becomes harder for you to continue overeating at that point, right? Well, if you have high blood pressure, when you go to the doctor and the doctor like, yo, it's the sodium that's causing the high blood pressure, even though that's a half truth, but I don't want to get into that in this lesson. Once the doctor make you aware of that, now okay, no, I don't want to have that much salt that's going to mess with my blood pressure. I don't like how my high blood pressure got my foot swollen up and things like that. I don't like that. So I don't even want to look at that salt right now. Now you're aware of how it's affecting you, right? And it's about becoming immersed in that awareness. Becoming immersed in that awareness is kind of like another training on its own. Some people might be saying, yeah, it's easier said than done. In some cases, yes. In many cases, no, right? It's a matter of discovering what you really care about. And what I've learned about human beings, if we be honest with ourselves, there's things that we say we care about because it sounds like the right thing to say, but in reality, we don't really care about it that much. But when you find a way to become aware of information and tie it to what you actually care about and how that relates to your goals, I promise you, it becomes easy at that point, and you don't need discipline. At that point, it becomes hard to stay the same person. Oh, of course I love my kids. I'm doing it for my kids. If you told yourself you're being healthy for your kids and you still been struggling for years, this is not to say you don't love your kids. It's just to say that you don't care about that as much as you think you do. And then maybe that's something else to have a conversation about, therapy about, who knows, right? You have different values. Like I say, just because you might not care about it as much doesn't mean you don't love them. That's not what I'm saying. Of course I love my kids. I'm not saying you don't. But what I am saying, and also what you are saying, by continuing to not do what is best for your kids, doing what's best for you because what's best for you is best for your kids, then maybe you don't care about your kids as much as you think you do, or whatever else you claim that you care about as much as you think you do. That short-term gratification, you care about that more than that. That's just the fact. It shows. And then for some of you, that is enough inspiration. For me, that happened to be enough inspiration. Yo, I got a daughter now. I can be doing this. I was able to go cold turkey. Boom. For some people, that's not the case. We're complex beings. We're complex beings, right? So once again, when I say it's not about discipline, I'm saying it's not about fighting urges. It's about reprogramming your urges. About reprogramming your urges. So I don't want to make this less too long. We'll stop there. Actually, we'll stop there. Hope you got value out of this. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was or what questions this inspired. And I'll check you on the next one. Peace.